my dad said that day, the way she looked, he should have known something bad was going to happen. Because she had on this long black dress. It went all the way down to the ground. It had big pockets in it. And she stood out there and she said, Darnell, don't you ever come over here again, Darnell. He said, what? This is a free country. I can go anywhere I want to. Darnell, if you ever come here again, you're going to be sorry. I'm warning you, Darnell. Don't you ever come here again. He said, what? You think I'm scared of you? I'll show you. And he started walking. He was in the street. He started walking towards her house. And then my dad said she reached into her pocket and she pulled out a doll. And said that doll looked just like Darnell. And when Darnell saw the doll, he knew what was about to happen. He says, hey, that's okay. That's okay, all right. But it was too late. She took this long pin with a head on it and she stuck that doll. And my dad said as soon as she stuck that doll, Darnell went, ah! And then she stuck it again and he fell on the ground and she stuck it again and then he was yelling, stop her, she's killing me. Somebody stop her. And my dad said, what? She's way over there. He's out here. What is he talking about? And then my dad said he went up to help him and then he went into convulsions and started shaking like this. And my dad looked down and something red was coming out of his mouth. And he said, oh, I think he's getting ready to bite his tongue off. So he started looking for a stick or something to put in his mouth so he wouldn't bite his tongue off. He said he found the stick and when he turned around, he said that red thing had come out this long. And then he got down there and looked and it opened up its mouth and had eyes. He went, oh, it was a worm, a giant worm coming out of him. And he said he could hear the guy choking on it. The guy was going, and blood was gushing out of his mouth. And then my dad said that worm came out. It was longer than him. And he could actually see pieces of the guy's intestines attached to the worm because the worm had hooks on its skin. And he went, what? And the worm almost got my dad's foot. And he jumped back and the worm crawled out and went down into the gutter. And he told the neighbors, hey, come over here and help me with Darnell. We got to get him to the hospital. And they came, picked him up, put him in his car, and they drove him to the hospital. And you know what? He died. And then the neighbors found out that he had died, and they called the police. They They said, police officer, that Creole woman, she killed Darnell. The police officer said, well, how did she do it? What did she do? She did voodoo. She did voodoo on him, officer. Officer said, voodoo? Did she shoot him? No. But did she stab him? No. She got a doll. She stabbed the doll. That's how she killed him. The police said, you people better not ever call us again with that stupid voodoo mess. We don't believe that stuff. You better not call us. We'll arrest you. And the police left. But the neighbors knew. They knew that she had killed Darnell. They knew it. Without a doubt. So they stopped talking to her. They never talked to her again. And after some months, her sisters, they left and they went back to Louisiana. And my dad said after that, the Creole lady never talked to anybody. She would get up early in the morning before the sun would come up and she would leave. And late at night, she would come back. And that's why when I was a little kid, whenever you were out late at night, if we were playing hide and go seek, they say, oh, we got to get home. The Creole lady's coming. I mean, we were scared of her like people were scared of La Llorona or the boogeyman or something like that. But I had never really seen her up close. Now, my dad, when he got done, he says, now you kids know you are to stay away from that Creole woman. If she ever comes into the backyard again, you come get me immediately. And he stretched. He said, oh, it's time for me to go to bed. And let me tell you something, back in those days, you didn't wake your dad up. If you woke your dad, because our fathers had to work hard. They had hard jobs. You didn't wake them up. And we knew better than to wake him up. If you woke him up, you're going to get a whooping. A serious whooping. They didn't play around back in those days. So when he went to bed, my mother said, well, you kids, you better go to bed too. So we went in there, got in bed. I was sleeping. I was sleeping good. Then I heard some noise. It woke me up. It might have been midnight. I got up and I looked out the window and I could see that the door to our chicken coop was open. And we had a big chicken coop. So I went over to my oldest brother, Vincent. I said, Vince, I think there must be a cat or something out there in the chicken coop. The door is open. He said, okay, we're going to go check it. But listen, don't wake up Dad. You know better than wake up Dad. I said, okay, we'll be quiet. So we crept out of the room. We had to go through the hallway, through the living room, through the kitchen, to get to the back door to go to the backyard. And we walked to the chicken coop. We walked straight in because the door was open. And when we got in there, we saw some candles lit. And I said, who put those candles there, Vince? He said, wait a minute. We didn't put no candles here. And we walked in, and then we heard this some kind of heavy breathing. I said, man, that's weird, but it sounds ugly. And we walked in, and when we got to the end of the cage, we looked over to the side, and there was the Creole lady. Her back was to us. She was down on the ground, and she looked like she was praying or something. And Vincent, my brother, got mad. He says, Creole woman, you're gonna cause us all these problems, and you back here again. Get up! Get up! And she didn't move. She was just down there making that ugly noise. And my brother did something. I never thought he would do this. I wouldn't do that. He ran up and he kicked that woman in the side. He kicked her hard, too. He kicked her, and I went, oh, man, you're not supposed to be kicking no woman like that. And I moved back towards the door, and he ran and he kicked her again, and then she started moving, getting up, and he kicked her again when she was getting up, but then when she started coming up, I came up because there was something strange going on down there with her legs, and I looked up and her dress was just torn, and it was wet looking, and I said, what the? And then I looked, and I could see her legs, you guys. Her legs were torn because these bony things were coming out, sharp bony things, and I realized they looked like giant chicken spurs. And then she stood up, and finally she turned around, and when she turned around, oh man, I couldn't believe what I saw. It was so ugly. Her flesh was hanging down like this. It was red and raw looking, and her eyes were red, and her hair was all over the place. And then she opened her eyes and she screamed, and it wasn't a human scream. It was an animal scream. And she ran at my brother, and my brother hit her. And when he hit her, he cut his hand because this was hard, like a chicken beak. And I realized she looks like a chicken. And she came back and she tried to kick my brother. She had these sharp spurs coming out of her leg. And she went to kick him with the spur. And the spur went into this, we had this wood beam coming down, and it stuck in, and she was trying to get loose. I said, come on, Fizz, let's get out of here, man.